This is a focus leader.
Do your movies look like this? Do your soundtracks sound like this? Or like this? If so, you need this.
A focus leader. First, set your lens so that these lines are sharp and clear on all parts of the screen. Now, set the volume control on your projector. The sound level should be adjusted until my voice can be clearly understood in all sections of the room. You are now ready to participate in another Pan American travel adventure. This is the land, Alaska, 49th state in that federal union called the United States of America. Unlimited in its potentialities, unbelievably rich in grandeur, a land not easy to know. Alaska, a part of the American heritage of freedom. Alaska is not an easy land to know or understand, for it is a land of contrast and paradox. The glaring white of the mountain ranges blends into the greens and blues of the inland passage. The great silent glaciers move slowly, inexorably down to the fjords, 2,000-3,000 feet deep. The climate is temperate, yet everywhere there is the snow and the ice. Those last reminders of an age that almost destroyed the world. Little of the land is buried under this white shroud, but that which is becomes a part of a visual image never to be erased from the memory. The land, the state of Alaska, where spring lives side by side with winter, and each year in Alaskan waters, life begins anew. Where to begin in this land? How to communicate the pioneer heritage now firmly woven into the fabric of American history? The story of any land begins with its people, and here too, Alaska is rich in variety and contrast. The Eskimo, reflecting in their faces the pioneer strain that brought them here ages ago to this last frontier. The Indian, proud of their old way of life, yet ready to adopt the new. And so many more who are part of Alaska's future. The carpenter at Ketchikan, the mason at Julno, the metalworker at Nome. The voice of Alaska then is heard in the voice of her people, and in these sounds can one tell the story of the land.
This is my land, and it has been good to me. I live at Point Barrow, far above the Arctic Circle, at the tip of North America. I am an officer of the church and have lived here all my life. As a boy, I followed the polar bear and the Arctic fox. But today, my children play the modern games and have left the ways of their ancestors. In summer, our women dress in calico instead of light skins and furs. But for me, there is always the trapping, and I am happy. Truly, the times change, but the land remains. In the summer, my people gather along the Bering Sea and the Arctic Ocean, and we sell our art to the tourist. We are proud of our work, which we learned from our fathers. It is soon the 4th of July, and other Eskimo families come from their island and coastal homes to join our countrymen in celebrating our nation's birth. I am told that this could be any main street in America, as we too acknowledge our heritage of freedom. And whether it's Maine or Florida, Texas or Alaska, one thing never changes.
In the face of the Eskimo, one can read the history of the land. But in the early days, there were others who came here in search of man's oldest folly.
I guess I'm one of the few left who remembers the old days. I'm still looking for the big one, doing things pretty much the way they did in '98. But there are other fellas around here who do things different, scientific. They use the big hoses to wash away the permafrost that covers the gold field at Easter Creek. They pound the glacier hard rock with more water than I use in a year. They got a great drag line that eats up 12 cubic yards of dirt at a gulp and gets rid of the useless topsoil so that the dredge can dig down to bedrock and pay dirt. And where I figure my day by the shovelful, they figure it in the thousands of cubic yards. And things have sure changed in Alaska. Men still look for gold. I guess they always will.
The soil of Alaska is rich, and there is much to be taken from the land. And the Alaskan farmer counts his day from dawn to midnight.
I'm a farmer, but more often than not, I feel like a chemist. My wife and I work the land up near Anchorage, and we think it's a good life. The soil is like Alaska, mixture of a lot of things, rich in some ingredients and badly lacking in others. Now, in June and July, we've got 24 hours of daylight, and there's a time when the sun never sets, so we have to keep our produce from growing too fast. They tend to get too big and lose in quality, so we analyze the soil until I sometimes feel more at home with a test tube than a tractor. I guess things change everywhere.
For some, the search is for food. For others, it is for black gold, uranium.
We deal in dirt too, my partner and I, and we find it in the mountains. Big mountains of uranium, like the one we found on an island near Ketchikan. We got ourselves a map, an instrument, and a plane, and we went to work. Prospecting like this sure beats packing a pick and shovel.
The voices of its people, then, are the voices of Alaska, rich-bodied, full, vigorous. Across the face of Alaska is found the strength and excitement of the frontier land. For some, the work is in her great forests like Tongass in southeast Alaska.
I'm a lumberman in the Tongass National Forest here in Alaska. Now, we got a real job out here, and if you love the work, there's no place like it. Now, we're pretty careful with our harvesting, and we leave plenty of trees standing in the right places to take advantage of the winds for natural reseeding. And whether you're on the water, moving down river to the mill, or in the great forests, you're surrounded by hemlock, spruce, and cedar. Now, America needs all the new trees she can get, and Alaska's ready to do the job.
The people of this state are spread across 500,000 square miles. Her cities, like Ketchikan, are a fascinating, complex mixture of old and new. In the early days, the Indian tribes settled in this area because of the great abundance of salmon and timber. The signs still remain, relics of the past, for the face of Alaska takes many forms. There are others who are part of the Alaska of today.
I'm a commercial salmon fisherman. Although the salmon industry is still Alaska's largest industry, it's been getting tougher each year. Well, maybe the fall season, which opens tomorrow, will be better. I hope so. You see, there are lots of things that I'd like to buy for the wife, and, well, the boat needs lots of attention. Well, we'll see. I always like to see the porpoises play off the bow. They seem like old friends. As the net goes out over the stern, there's many a prayer that goes with it. The boat makes a gradual circle while a power dory works around with the other end of the net, completing the circle. Then speed is essential to close the net so that the school of salmon can't dive down and escape below the net. And every one of us has to know and do his job perfectly. A good floating trap has been the start of many fishing fortunes. You see, the trap works on the principle of catching the salmon as they make their way along the coast from the oceanic feeding grounds to their spawning beds in the coastal streams. We get lots of help from the fish and wildlife experts who carry out an exhaustive stream survey with the primary purpose of building up future salmon rivers. I guess I'm not the only one who'd like to see more salmon in the streams.
Alaska, in the middle of the 20th century. Juneau, its capital city, rich in tradition, looking out over the channel with a calm serenity that gives the city its quality. All across the land, the airplane plays a dominant part in the life of the people.
I've been piloting planes here in Alaska for over 10 years. We've got some special problems in this state of ours. Sometimes our doctors have to cross a wilderness to make a house call, and most of our material goods travel between our cities by air. We fit our way of life to this kind of transportation. Everything comes in over the aerial highway. Our meals are planned around the daily supply of fresh fruits, vegetables, and meats. We depend on the airplane for everything, from pins to a tractor, even for toys for the children. And chickens fly almost before they're hatched. Industries depend on the regularity of our air service, and the pulse of our progress can be traced directly to the airplane.
The airplane links Alaska with the rest of the North American continent. And every year, the annual King Salmon Fishing Derby brings tourists and fishing equipment up from the sister states to the south.
I run a charter fishing boat out of Julno. And the big day of the year for us is the King Salmon Derby Day. Sure, we take our boat out every day, but on Derby Day, you fight that king salmon for a four-door automobile. That kind of puts a little edge on it. On a clear, sunny day, just you, your boat, and some of the toughest fish in the Pacific. Not a bad life. After a full day out on the water, you're usually pretty tired. Glad to head home to the family. Well, that's my way of life in the state of Alaska.
The people and the land and a way of life. Travel across the state, and there is something for everybody. Fairbanks, only a short distance from the Arctic Circle, with its towering skyscrapers covering the squat log cabins. And on the flying route to Alaska is Whitehorse, capital of the Yukon Territory, center of the Klondike Gold Rush, mining and transportation center. In recent years, Alaska has become a tourist haven for fishing and hunting. The grayling of the Yukon River are a natural fly fish. They put up a good scrap and are admired for their unusually large and colorful dorsal fin and their fresh tastiness pleasing even the connoisseur. Everywhere one looks, there are the sights and sounds of the woods. Bears, moose, caribou. There's no better place for a hunt than the Yukon. Everywhere there are the reminders of the past. Romance and adventure line the tracks of the White Pass and Yukon Railroad to the town of Carcross, where the stern-wheeler, the Tushai, leaves on one of the most memorable tourist trips in the world. With a breathtaking, tender avalanche of color, Ben McCree is an oasis of beauty and charm. In the laps of the mountains and glaciers, founded by an emigrant from the Isle of Man, he had named the place after his bride, Girl of My Dreams. Back in Alaska, on the other side of the mountain, 1/2 hour by air or a full day by boat from Juneau, is Glacier Bay, one of the great strongholds of the Ice Age. Mysterious, overpowering, incomprehensibly beautiful, a citadel of ice, silent, unchanging. The crew of the National Park Service boat watch and study the massive workings of the Ice Age and lay plans for its ultimate development as a tourist attraction. Taku Lodge on the shores of the huge glacial river is a famous tourist and sports fishing spot. In the fall, anglers flock to the lodge to do battle with the acrobatic, rambunctious coho salmon of Yearling Creek. The coho are really hungry. They hit at almost every cast. They break off. They test every skill and a bit of angling luck. At Yearling Creek, the singing reel becomes the Alaskan symphony to many visiting anglers. Yes, there is something for everyone in Alaska. This, then, is the land and its people. Alaska. Complex as the salmon and wild as the brown bear. Alaska, drenched with the pastels of nature's delicate artistry. Carpeted with the lush green of the meadow, the azure of the lake, and the white of the glacier. A vast, rugged land, crowned with the violent beauty of mountains, standing proud in her pioneer heritage. A land hard to leave. A land to remember. Alaska, 49th of these United States of America.